Originally, I wrote this course, Healing Ourselves, to help my people stay on track so they could understand how and why dietary healing works, and more importantly, how it could work for them. But what happens is that people get caught up in very compelling narratives, particularly around the diets such as the paleo, keto, and other low carb approaches, and they will draw wild assumptions from these. So here we are today, and in this short video, I'm going to introduce 4 non-negotiable biological facts, and I'll let you discover whether it changes your narrative. So let's start by looking at 4 current diet trends. Here we have the keto diet. This is a no carbohydrate diet, so the energy you require has to come from the burning of fat calories. There are much smaller amounts of protein, but these are still quite restricted so as not to throw your body out of ketosis, which is required for rapid weight loss. So this type of diet will reduce your blood sugar readings too, as you're not getting any incoming glucose from the dietary carbohydrates. Next, we've got the paleo diet. And again, it's not keen on carbs, especially grains, so these are often totally omitted, but you can have lots of vegetables and fruits. It's probably best known as a high protein, high fat diet, where the available energy comes mostly from fats. Then there is the low carb diet. This only differs in that you may take grains, but usually people following these programs are looking for weight loss, so we may find that the amount of fat is also reduced. An important distinction is that a low carb diet does not mean that we replace carbs with fat. It is generally calorie reduced. Then there is the anti-inflammatory diet. Some of the more famous ones are the Mediterranean diet and the DASH diet. So these diets lean towards foods high in antioxidants, which includes your fruits, especially your berries, your vegetables, olive oil, and of course your red wine. It prefers fish as an animal protein, which is high in the essential fatty acids that help modulate inflammation, and it makes good provision for complex carbohydrates in the form of whole grain and legumes. So it is a more even approach to the 3 macronutrients: protein, fat, and carbohydrate. When we compare these diets, you can see that the keto and paleo approach are both very low in carbohydrate. Then with the low carb diet, this may reduce fat even further. When we look at the anti-inflammatory diet, it has a fairly even distribution and is a lot kinder to our carbohydrate friends. Fact number 1, the body can't make carbohydrates. We have to get these from the diet. We need carbs. They are really important in the building of the structure of the body and for function. Importantly, without carbs, the body would simply dry out. So that should be a good enough reason to include them. And for those worried about aging, wrinkling, etc., just taking antioxidants is not enough to do the trick. So the body also needs carbohydrate for energy. Yes, it can burn fat or protein, but the brain and nervous system are reliant on a constant supply of glucose. We get our complex carbohydrates from grains and legumes, which are broken down into glucose molecules. These are then burned for energy. Carbohydrate is a very clean fuel, as the waste it produces is simply carbon dioxide and water, which can easily be removed from the body. The body monitors glucose as a measure of available energy. It doesn't monitor fat, it doesn't monitor protein, only glucose. And when this drops, it becomes a medical emergency. In fact, glucose levels are as critical as oxygen. Without both, we die. So, fact number 2. If glucose falls, then the adrenal glands will start to pump corticosteroids. So these stimulate the breakdown of muscle tissue, which releases its amino acids, and these are the building blocks of protein. These are then transported to the liver, where they undergo a lengthy process for the conversion to glucose. So there's a maximum amount of protein that can be converted over a 24-hour period, which is probably just sufficient for the brain and the nervous system. So what does this type of tissue degeneration look like? Muscle tissue is found throughout the body, not just in the muscles, and the consequences are general loss of tone or tensile strength throughout the body. It can cause heart weakness, vascular disorders, weakness of ligaments, prolapses, hernias, weaknesses in the bowel and bladder leading to incontinence. So a general sinking or drooping of the body. In traditional Chinese medicine, this is known as spleen qi sinking. So what does this mean? It means that diets that are low in carbohydrate will switch the body into breakdown mode, and it's very difficult to rebuild, regenerate, or heal on a low-carb diet. Fact number 3. Our survival is dependent on maintaining a steady extracellular pH of around 7.4. This is slightly alkaline. If we deviate either up or down, our enzyme systems would fail and we would die. Here we've got the pH scale. So 7 is neutral, and the body likes to be just on the alkaline side of 7.4. Now, we mustn't lose sight of the fact that we are net acid producers. So the metabolic waste that we create is acidic. However, when the body has to rely on fats or protein for energy, we create a relative state of acidosis. This is the whole principle behind the keto diet. You put the body into acidosis so it burns itself for energy. Now, the acidity generated from the burning of these fuels cannot be easily discarded, so the body has to somehow buffer that acidity. On the other hand, our fruits and vegetables do not leave an acid debt. They can actually contribute to the alkalinity, and they help with the buffering. Legumes too are pretty special, and they can donate buffers. But grains tend to leave a slightly more acidic debt, but not nearly so much as your fat and proteins. So the buffering process simply means neutralizing acidity. Much like when we add lemon juice to milk, we get curds and whey. There's an exchange that happens as the milk, which is slightly alkaline, buffers the lemon juice, which is acidic, to form a more neutral curds and whey. In the body, the bones are our biggest store of buffering agents. They'll give up their calcium and bicarbonates to neutralize the acidity. This means that the bones will slowly dissolve over time, leading to osteoporosis or porous bones. And we will see the hardening outside the skeleton as calcium becomes deposited and builds up in the soft tissues and the arteries. The cells will also take up and neutralize acidity. However, this disturbs the metabolic functioning of the cell. It reduces its energy capacity and its demand for oxygen. You could say that the cell falls into a more fermentative state, and this heralds the onset of chronic degenerative disease. Fact number 4. The burning of fat for energy requires a lot of oxygen and produces high amounts of free radicals. As you may know, fats have a lot of calories, more than twice the amount gram for gram than carbohydrates. So they use much more oxygen, nearly 3 times the amount. The burning of fat also generates many more free radicals, which are then picked up by oxygen, and oxygen becomes supercharged and very unstable, forming what is known as reactive oxygen species. The cell is in danger of becoming a death trap, so it closes its doors to glucose. A root cause of diabetes is high fat consumption. And when free radicals reach a critical threshold inside the cell, insulin resistance becomes the safety measure of the cell. We love to be convinced of facts, but we often mistake these for the truth. So, for example, a low carb diet will reduce my blood sugar is a fact, and it's truthful within its own narrow context. But is it truthful within the broader context? Can we then say, because a low carb diet reduces my blood sugar, that it will also improve my health? This becomes a distortion of truth. And what if we find there are safer ways to reduce the blood sugar that will also build health? Wouldn't that be better? Everyone is welcome on the Healing Ourselves course, whether you're a practitioner or someone seeking to make sense of what's out there to make a more informed decision. So if you're interested in knowing more and setting up a dietary program that will work for you and that will most certainly improve your odds of staying well, then please check out the Healing Ourselves course from my website. It's a 5-week online attendance course. Each live session is 1.5 hours. The sessions are recorded and you will receive workbook materials. If you're looking to navigate your journey with multiple practitioners, check out the new Ready Reckoner courses to help you rapidly filter through the options based on where you want to go.